Welcome back to WHHI News. Joining me now is Kevin Cassidy. He is the director for the International Labor Organization for the United States and Canada, a speaker for our World's Affairs Council on Hilton Head Island. He is going to talk with us and there about the global supply chain, which has faced its challenges recently. Kevin Cassidy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
We all experienced during the pandemic the slowdown of the global supply chain, whether it was at the grocery store, whether it was going to a car dealership and seeing that no new cars were available, or car production being slowed down because certain parts weren't being shipped or available. Have things really improved? We've had the ports being clogged, ships waiting to deliver goods for days on end. Where do we stand now?
Yes, and thanks. The COVID-19 pandemic had really exacerbated underlying problems that we were experiencing before it became full-blown. The global labor environment, about 81% of all workers globally had been impacted by this in the first several months. And as we say, an unhealthy workplace is an unworkable environment. So this pathogen that came in really took us by surprise, although there were other changes afoot. Now, many companies were trying to diversify. They were trying to look at different sources because now we are locked in usually for one supplier, and that was causing problems. But it was exacerbating and cascading down the chain in many different areas, of which, of course, the global supply chain itself is a very fragile setup. And I think many companies realize now that the just-in-time delivery, no warehousing, did actually exacerbate a lot of the problems for customers and consumers today.
So do you see the strategies of those companies changing because of what has happened now, that it won't be just-on-time delivery anymore and they've got to change those strategies?
I think they're going to be looking at a few things. I think the first thing they're going to have to do is have a better sense of visibility in their supply chains. Many companies, even very large companies, don't know very much about past the second or third tier of their suppliers. Now, any manufacturer will be using hundreds, if not thousands, of suppliers to make cars or other complex electronics, and so that's a major issue. So having visibility down the supply chain, being able to have alternative sourcing for that, having multiple vendors that they can go to will certainly free that up. I think the other issues that we're looking at as well too is to ensure that in dealing with these pandemics, and of course that's important, but also the skill sets that are necessary. We have to look at how we are going to find the workers to do those jobs that are necessary and to also provide to them the protection in the workplace so it is a healthy workplace.
And it's amazing to me when you say people weren't aware at companies where, going back down their supply chain where things were coming from. I bet in retrospect they're saying, why didn't we think about this before? But at that point it was too late. When we look at what's happening in our ports, delays with ships making deliveries, et cetera, is that still going on? And also with trucking prices, I know I mentioned that I may have earlier, that they've just really skyrocketed as far as delivery prices. What's happening there?
Largely those bottlenecks. I mean, of course, in the beginning, it was the lack of products to be shipped, and also where you started to have these tankers, these big container ships piling up outside of ports. It was because you didn't have workers, right? Again, COVID-19 impacted everybody, whether you are a CEO of a company or you're working on the dock and unloading ships. So I think employment, getting the right people in those jobs, is very, very important. A lot of people have decided they wanted to change their life, right? People call it the great reassessment or the great resignation. For us, people were assessing what they wanted from their lives. Did they have enough money stored away that they could actually move on to their next phase, whether it was retirement or going to something else, or looking for better jobs? So I think the bottlenecks we're seeing right now are largely having the right staff. It's very hard to attract people. Long haul truckers, I mean, this has always been a problem and an increasing problem as well, too. So I think we're going to have to look at new technologies to help us. So I think in building back, or building forward, as I should say, because we are trying to improve, technology will come into play, skilling of workers, looking at talent pipelines for people, upgrading ports. But the other big challenge we're facing is climate change. We're seeing many of the rivers running dry. Great transportation networks have been shut down because the boats can no longer ply those causeways. So I think we're still going to be experiencing problems, but it allows us to look at a broader swath of solutions solutions to make the workplace a bit better and get back to the economy that I think people are used to.
Well, Kevin Cassidy, we're already out of time, but it has been great to have you as a guest here on WHHI News. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll find out about an effort to help out the people of Kenya. Stay there.